Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashion Conservatives podcast. Hope you had a great weekend celebrating this amazing country and its 250th birthday, unlike Lee Snodgrass, who says she's tired of patriotism. I'm not, and I'm Justin Phillips, and with me, as always, is someone who believes July is the real month to show your pride, Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
And we've got a great episode lined up for you today, including an interview with Barbara Bittner, who's running for Wisconsin's 1st Senate District. She's got a really unique background, shared some of that with us, and I hope you find the conversation as interesting as I did. But before we get to that, some news that has to be exciting for the Shadow Governor is ICE recently arrested 39 illegals in an operation across Wisconsin. Shadow Gov, how much are you loving the rookie numbers that are hopefully going to start building up for ICE arrests in Wisconsin?
Well, I will take anything. If it's 1, I'm happy. If it's 10, I'm ecstatic. If it's 39, I am having a very good day. So I am not the kind of guy to complain about the lack of deportations. Of course, I would like a steady stream of deportations to continue. However, I am not one of those black pillars and doomers who say, oh, we don't have enough deportations. The administration has lied to us. That's just not true. We have deported more people than we ever had. There's a considerable amount of pushback that the federal government has had on deportations. And despite that, we are continuing that. And in fact, I saw a little blurb from a DHS secretary. I'm already forgetting his name, the Oklahoma senator.
Tom Homan?
No. Mark
Mark Wayne Mullen.
Yes, I know he's got that funny name.
Yep.
New DH. Sorry, he's very quiet. He does do a lot of talking, so I just kind of forgot. But he did a thing where he said that their daily apprehensions or their daily deportation numbers were like 3,200 a day.
Okay.
Which, if you do some simple math, that's quite a few if that stays consistent. So. Mm-hmm. The thing that I want to say about the 39 is we haven't had this many, I think, detained in one operation in Wisconsin since the administration took over. It's always been, here's 1, here's 2. There was that operation that they did, I think, in Racine or Kenosha, where they did a conjunction with the FBI and such, that I think was more centered on the drugs and the guns compared to the fact that they were illegal. I think that was just kind of an after effect. But so this is the biggest operation that we've had in Wisconsin as of to date. It would seem. So I'm ecstatic. That's fantastic. Yeah. So I will take this headline any day. I appreciate those patriots that say this is not enough. I get it. I know where you're coming from. But think about it in the context of where we've been and where we're going. This is good.
Well, and you got to remember that not just the fact that there's 3,200 deportations a day is the fact that border crossings at the Mexican border are basically non-existent. So it's not like we're getting a bunch of new ones and then finding ones to send back. It's net zero or net negative in terms of having illegal immigrants in the state. And of course, the Democrats and the Journal Sentinel pounced on one story of a man who was arrested who had otherwise no criminal background. And of course, I'm waiting for the truth to come out about that one and why, again, I think he was someone whose parents overstayed a visa and, obviously stories like that, or they did something wrong. They overstayed. They didn't reapply when they should have and are now facing those deportations. But 39 of them, my understanding is a lot of them had criminal backgrounds to begin with. And, getting those people out should be a priority and something that should be supported by not just conservatives, but by all Americans, that getting criminal elements out of this country is a good thing.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to we always have to drill down. We always have to reiterate the semantic argument that they are, in fact, criminals. They did either cross the border illegally. They're here, quote unquote, overstaying your visa. You are not abiding by the laws that the United States put out for that. There are consequences for that laws. For many, many years, those consequences seem to have been overlooked, overshadowed, and certainly not abided by to the fullest extent. So that's all we're doing. Okay. I would love to curtail more things. I would like to make it harder for illegals to be able to own property, own businesses, or own things that Americans should be having first. I think there was a congressman Brandon Gill had put out a bill that would limit non-citizens to have federally backed mortgage loans.
Mm-hmm. Duh.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? We've been allowing this before. The entire world can just come here on a visa and get loans for homes in the United States before.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that can be fixed with immigration. I won't bore everybody with that, but this is a great thing. I'm so happy to hear it. And I'm happy to see that the Milwaukee County people, the city of Milwaukee people, are all losing their minds because they can't really do anything. They just kind of have to take it on the chin.
Yeah, so Journal Sentinel had the article this week. ICE basically told Milwaukee to screw off, both at the county and city level. As you may know, that the city and the county both had these anti-ICE ordinances that banned them from staging in city areas and county areas, county parks or whatever, and banned, I think, masks or face coverings for ICE agents. And in a statement on June 30th, Lauren Biss, a Department of Homeland Security spokesman, said the agency would not abide by local rules prohibiting masks, saying sanctuary politicians attempting to ban our federal law enforcement from wearing masks is despicable and a flagrant attempt to endanger our officers. To follow up on that, one of the Milwaukee County supervisors, Juan Miguel Martinez, who himself might need to be looked at, said he's working on additional legislation to bar ICE from other county property, such as public buses.
Oh, the humanity. ICE on the MC. Oh, are they going to charge a fare to the ICE agents that get on the buses when they don't charge like a third of the people that are on the buses already? Give me a break. This is the most vapid, just horrible piece of just optic politics. This is a political fig leaf. The Democrats at the local level cannot really do anything. They can functionally do nothing, which is why people like the city attorney and probably the legal counsel for the county are basically saying, hey guys, you can do this, but like we don't have really a legal basis to
how are they going to enforce it? It's not criminal, it's civil. Yeah. So, because you can't, again, you want to criminalize federal. Yeah. So yeah, it's insane. I think what they're really trying to do is, and they're waiting for the opportunity to have a confrontation with ICE as county board supervisors. I know Marina Dmitrievic's another one who I think has spent a lot of time in the past few weeks just trying to tattle on ICE agents or go to the Milwaukee police and tell try to out ICE for where they're staging. But of course she calls and then complains and whines like a Karen, and by the time anyone actually shows up, the ICE folks are already gone and probably moving in on their operation.
Yeah, well, and this is a thing where I know a lot of our base and maybe even some listeners think that all Democrats are stupid. And that's actually not the case. There's a lot of Democrats that know very well that they legally can't really do anything to limit ICE's involvement in cities. They can ask nicely. They can send letters to the federal government. And I guess they can pass these ordinances and resolutions, but it functionally does nothing. But the masses, the liberal primary voters, the general base of the Democrat Party don't really understand that. And so what they see is they see them passing this stuff and they're like, oh, they can't do this anymore. Then they see it and they're like, oh my gosh, they're breaking the law. We need to arrest these people. And we're just creating this cycle where there's the expectations of ICE officers being arrested. That's not actually the case.
Yep.
The politicians then, they'll put out a statement, but it could get to the point where, and we kind of talked about this in previous episodes of the podcast, where the base is like, hey, we voted for you to protect brown bodies from ICE.
Right.
You're not doing it. We're going to elect people that actually do it.
Yep.
And so that could set off a whole nother thing. So this is just a political fig leaf. If you want to ban ICE from buses, go ahead. I don't think that they're going to be making any trips anytime soon.
Right. And, again, you're going to pound the table and say, we're going to hold these people accountable and there's going to be consequences for not following the rules we set out as a county board. Like, come on. Like you are about to enter the FO stage of the FO quandary if you start trying to demand that Milwaukee County employee, law enforcement or city of Milwaukee law enforcement do something to act against an ICE agent. Again, good luck finding a member of the law enforcement that's going to be willing to do that and follow through on whatever those consequences are. And again, unless Karen Dmitrievic is going to try and do it herself and make some sort of citizen's arrest on ICE agents, it's not going to be real. But we need to talk about some other stuff that the Dems hate right now, and that's one of their own. Posted this one on the Heartland Post recently. Don't know how many people happened to notice this, but it was a good catch. Democrats had just put out something, put out a book of their majority makers and bios on all of the candidates that they were trying to promote, and they seem to have left one off, and that is Sylvia Ortiz-Velez. They left her off the book, and even though she is an incumbent Democrat, they put on her opponent instead. And just, again, a disrespectful sort of dig at Sylvia Ortiz-Velez, who's become maybe I'm not going to say a moderate voice, but certainly has
a little bit of a maverick.
A little bit of a maverick streak. Yeah, a little bit of an independent streak. And she's run afoul of Democrat leadership, and they've taken out that frustration by excluding her from their plans this November.
Yeah, and we've talked about Representative Ortiz-Velez's situation multiple times, where she's been asked to basically leave the assembly floor chambers in order to not take votes, or after she's taken a bad vote, taking a bad vote for them, maybe a good vote for her, where they've definitely tried to put the clamps on her. And this is just kind of, I don't want to say rigging things. They're just actively opposing her. They are going out of their way to oppose her. They, clearly they got someone to run in this primary. They're backing him instead because he will be a loyal Democrat vote. Yep. And Ortiz-Velez is not some far right Republican. And
no,
she's a Democrat. She is just, she has a few issues where she's like, the Republicans are not these evil, authoritarian fascists that most on the others on the other side say. So she's not some. She is. It does. I think that's why I said kind of a maverick streak, where she just has some that she's very vocal on opposing the Democrats on. But so this is just kind of the last step. I mean, we saw them challenge the nomination papers, but then that kind of got recalled.
Well, I think that blew up in their face because it was so embarrassing that the Assembly Democrat Campaign Committee would challenge the nominations of one of their own, that I felt like they had to back off. And also it was just a clerical thing on WEC's end when it came to her signature. So yeah, I think this is the more subtle dig. They couldn't be overt because people, called them out for it like we did at the Heartland Post. And now instead she just gets left off of the path to the Assembly majority guide that they released.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is not surprising in the least. However, the nomination signature challenge was super embarrassing considering that they put all this time and effort into a challenge. And then it turns out it was just a whoopsie on the Wisconsin Elections Commission's end. And then like, oopsie, well, we'll retract that. So they got all the bad press of challenging one of their own and then didn't actually make it to the finish line. So
what's interesting is I did look through the whole Path to the Majority book. And, Priscilla Prado in District 9 and Russell Goodwin in District 11 both have primaries. Their challengers weren't mentioned. They're sticking with Prado and Goodwin over Ortiz-Velez.
Yes, there's a little nuance to that because the Representative Goodwin primary candidate is being backed by Ryan Clancy.
Yep.
And so
there's that first, we talked about on the last episode, there's that first inkling that the Democrat Socialists are going to try and take out some of the, again, ones that don't vote in lockstep. Because I think Goodwin's had a couple of votes where he's taken in support of the Republican side and then was sent off the floor.
Yes. Notably one of the transgender bills. But other than that, I think he's been lockstep with the Democrats. So it's really fewer votes than Representative Ortiz-Velez, but which is probably why the Democrat Party is not actively going after him. But Clancy has made it kind of an issue to replace him with someone that is better in his eyes.
Right. And I'm guessing he's going to see himself as the kingmaker if, Francesca Hong wins the primary in August, because his wife is Hong's, I think, campaign manager. But there's
some capacity, yeah.
Some high tier capacity. One of the other things we have to talk about is how much the Democrats, or a certain Democrat, hates Republicans. And, this is one of those saying the quiet thing out loud. And this was talked about on Libs of TikTok. Dustin Grange had it. We covered it at the Heartland Post. But a Democrat staffer for Katrina DeVille, who's a transgender woman, so a man, running for the Democrat nomination against Tony Weed up in the that Wisconsin congressional district, posted some really crazy clips, and one of them was in over a whiteboard that said "Kill your local Republican," and this staffer said that we're going to make this the moderate position in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, this one's I can't tell if I'm shocked by this stuff anymore or if I'm just disgusted. But after Charlie Kirk, obviously, there was a lot of people did some soul searching, I think on the right, saying, hey, I know it's all fun and games to be like, haha, liberal tears and everything. Mm-hmm. And then they start shooting your people and you're like, okay, they're pretty serious about this. And so this isn't funny. It's not funny. Like, oh my gosh, like, haha, a tranny is making fun of conservatives and wants to kill us. This person is from Wisconsin, is a volunteer staffer for this other mentally unwell trans person. But like, this is a Wisconsin person. It's here at home. And I was looking back, I'm like, you know what? I think this person interacted with me online. And in fact, he did. There was, I can't remember the exact subject that we originally started, but I just remember going back and forth. Actually, I do. A friend of the show, Elizabeth Wolnick, had posted something, and this person was triggered because Elizabeth happens to be a female conservative, and this person said something along the lines of, why do all the women have like MAGA face or something, or basically have makeup and are attractive? Basically right. Is what this person was jealous of. Was jealous of a woman, an actual woman. And I think I tweeted back at the person, said, you'll never be a woman. Just like, don't contend with the argument at all. Like, you'll never be a woman. And they didn't like that very much. But the long and the short of it, or the short of the long of it, this is kind of a mainstream thing. It might not be broadly publicized, but someone felt confident enough to be on TikTok, and not once, multiple times, talking about killing people, maybe a little bit more veiled than kill your local Republican. Mm-hmm. But this is not like Trump is Hitler. Trump is an authoritarian. He's a fascist. We've heard that for years. I mean, they've called every president since basically every president after every Republican president after Eisenhower a Nazi. But this has gone from Trump as a fascist to just kill your local Republican. It's not like, hey, kill your congressman or kill your U.S. senator or your governor that's a Republican. Nope. Just kill any old Republican. Doesn't matter. They're all bad. So that's kind of where we're at.
You got to hope sometime between when we're recording this episode and in the future that the FBI might look into someone posting these sort of things. And of course, no Democrat has denounced or disavowed these comments. And, even though in prior episodes, we've kind of occasionally praised journalists like Hope Carnop at the Journal Sentinel, none of them are going to go out and ask Francesca Hong about this, because this person, I can't even quite remember their name.
Doesn't matter. Probably not even worth giving them that attention.
Right, but they endorse Francesca Hong, and Hong's probably going to celebrate that this person, this they them, this wannabe she her, is one of her supporters, and they're not. Journal Sentinel's not going to do any effort to see if the Republicans or the Democrats will denounce these people, even though if the shoe was on the other foot, every Republican in the country would be forced to denounce someone making these sort of statements.
100%. And I just want to state that this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
This is not some fringe. This is a mainstream talking point within, especially I would say, the trans community, who is already very mentally unwell and unstable. I think they're a little bit more veiled in this, but this person also, besides killing your local Republican, which is bad enough, was saying that we need to go through a trans jihad.
Yep.
Which, do I need to explain what a jihad is? Do I need to explain what maybe a trans jihad would also be? I think I could get in trouble for trying to itemize what that might look like. Okay. So I don't know. At some point, we just have to start believing these people for what they say. It's
and the
not
fact
just
is,
hyperbole.
The sad fact is we still haven't, because said how many shooters, quite frankly, in the past year have been a trans jihadist. And we're still, when they say things like this, we need to take it seriously, and we need to understand as conservatives and as Republicans, this is the type of behavior that is acceptable on the left. And if they don't tone it down, if this person doesn't tone it down, if others don't, and they keep getting elevated, and right now it's a volunteer campaign person, but soon it's a paid staffer, and soon it's a comms person, or soon it's a campaign manager. Even if they don't do that, the people might take it seriously and think they need to fight back and stop these sort of trans shooter incidents before they start.
Well, I think they have already taken it seriously, or Charlie Kirk might still be here. But I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So we got to talk a little bit about some good news before we break into our interview. Tom Tiffany received the endorsement of Wisconsin Farm Bureau Federation's Political Action Committee Volunteers for Agriculture just recently. The endorsement comes as Tiffany made his agricultural roots a central part of his campaign. He grew up on a dairy farm, frequently highlights his farm upbringing. I've seen him over the past month at several dairy breakfasts. I think it's great that they come through, that the Farm Bureau came through like this. And I don't know necessarily if there was a candidate on the left that could have made the argument that they were the candidate for agriculture. Certainly the only one that could have even had a chance, an outside 1,000-to-1 odds chance of it happening, is no longer in the race. So good thing for Tom Tiffany again to earn the support of farmers across the state of Wisconsin.
This one kind of seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Tom Tiffany has represented a very rural area for a long, long time, has had an extensive record probably on many of these issues already. So, and well, most of the candidates, excluding the one you already mentioned, are all from Madison and Milwaukee. Not saying that someone from Madison and Milwaukee can't earn the endorsement of the farm bureaus, but I mean, Tammy Baldwin won it. Won their endorsement back in 2024 for U.S. Senate. So they do have kind of a bipartisan streak, which I thought was frankly kind of a bold move on their part. But I guess that's their choice. And so they're coming out really early on this one too. I can't recall if they endorsed Tammy during the primary. I think they did. I think they endorsed Tammy pretty early as well. So obviously the Republican primary is wrapped up and the Democrat ones are still ongoing, but the Democrats really didn't have a shot at the Farm Bureau endorsement. So this is kind of a par for the course, it seems like, and a good endorsement.
But yeah, it is an organization that is a bit bipartisan, who've gotten, they said they did endorse Tammy Baldwin in 2024. So it is a bipartisan organization. I think farmers, I'm not going to say they all lean right or lean one way or the other, but I think certainly, the modern Democrat Party versus the modern Republican Party, they probably lean more towards one over the other. So with that, let's get into our interview with State Senate candidate Barb Bittner. I had a great time talking to her and hope you enjoyed this one. Today on the New Fashion Conservatives podcast, we're joined by someone we've been following for a while now, State Senate candidate Barbara Bittner. Barbara is a lifelong Wisconsinite who grew up on a dairy farm in Calumet County. She spent 20 years owning and managing senior living communities across the state, and she currently serves as the chair of the Calumet County Republican Party. Barb, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Justin.
So Barbara here is running for the State Senate 1st District, which covers a large portion of Northeast Wisconsin, including rural communities, farms, and small towns. And she's campaigning as a strong conservative voice for families, farmers, and small businesses. The primary for this seat is taking place in August, and she's out knocking doors and talking directly with voters across the district, putting up yard signs, and she's taking some time to talk to us. So, Barb, I feel like you are everywhere. I'm constantly seeing your posts on social media about how hard you're working, how many signs you're putting up, how many doors you're knocking. So thanks for taking some time to join us today, and welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me again. I appreciate the opportunity to get out and speak to your listeners.
Thank you. And so tell us, just how's the campaign going so far? What's the response been on doors? And, I saw you putting up yard signs when it's very hot out. So hope you're staying hydrated.
Absolutely. A lot of Gatorade, a lot of water, and making sure to hop back in the truck once in a while to get some air conditioning to cool off. But no, the campaign's going really, really well. I'm really enjoying the opportunity to get out and talk to voters. I appreciate their authenticity and the questions they have, as well as how willing and welcoming they are to me, willing to share their concerns about the future, and willing to be really, really deeply honest about the need for someone to be in the state Senate that is going to help them. I think that's the biggest thing that I hear from people is, I actually had a guy named Pat. He runs a transmission company. And he looked me in the eye and he paused for a minute and his comment was, please help us. And that really reinforces why I'm running. I just want to be a really strong voice for the people of Wisconsin, to represent them with integrity, common sense, and real world experience that I have from my background.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. You grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. How did that experience, kind of shape your background and your vision for this race?
So growing up on a dairy farm, you learn a lot of different things. You learn the value of hard work. You learn how to be a team member, how to communicate well with others so that you can get the job done. I think for me, growing up on a dairy farm and continuing to farm today, I have a better understanding of the pressures that affect farmers, including the fact that our input costs continue to rise, our commodity prices are lower. Generations of hard work are at risk. There's a lot of family farms out there struggling, and I've watched a lot of people, especially farm families, small farm families, that are facing overwhelming stress and uncertainty. So that's something that is important to me, obviously. Additionally, I ran I'm a small business owner. For 20 years, I owned, leased, managed, and operated assisted living facilities across the state of Wisconsin. And during that time, I was responsible for hundreds of employees and the care of thousands of seniors. So I have a little bit different background, I think, than some of the other candidates in this, and that I've dealt with government regulations. I've had to worry about payroll. I've balanced budgets. I've faced rising costs and shrinking margins, and I've had to make difficult decisions to keep the businesses operating and our employees working. And right now, I feel like many of the people that are in Madison, Wisconsin, making decisions for us have never had those responsibilities. They've never had to sign the front of a paycheck. They've never had to wonder how they're going to absorb another regulation or another cost increase. And I have. In addition to that, I'm running to be a voice for farmers, for business owners, and working families who feel like the government stopped listening to them. And I think we can all kind of, look back on some of the decisions that are being made down in Madison and go, hey, this isn't for our benefit. So, I didn't get involved in politics because it's a career path for me. I got involved in politics because I care about Wisconsin and the future of our communities. I joined the Republican Party as a grassroots volunteer about 5 years ago. I am currently on leave as the chair of the Republican Party of Calumet County. And this past year, we won the County Party of the Year award for our efforts to support the Republican Party of Wisconsin. I joined because I want to make a difference. I put in countless hours volunteering my time, energy, and resources to help conservative causes, to help our conservative candidates, and to have a voice, help voters have a voice in the future of our state. So I've spent my life serving other people. as a farmer, as a small business owner, as a caregiver, and as a volunteer. And I hope to continue that legacy of caring for people in the state of Wisconsin, down in Madison.
Yeah, being a caregiver is such a unique role. I have family that went through that in assisted living and with, Alzheimer's and dementia care, and, seeing that from the inside for as long as I did. I know that's a tough role, and the way you kind of have to navigate government regulations and patient care is got to be tough. Do you want to follow up there?
I think in our business, the focus was always on quality of care, but in addition to that, it was on ensuring that our staff were well prepared for their jobs, were well paid, had health care, that they got a meal on each shift. And we also strove to promote from within. So individuals that worked hard, wanted to grow, maybe didn't have a degree. Most of them didn't have a degree. Some of them had high school HSEDs. But there was an opportunity there. If you wanted to do better in your life, that we gave you that opportunity. I've talked to I talked to another individual, and we met this young lady. We took over a facility that was failing. She was making $8.25 an hour. She worked for us, and later on in her career with us, she ran our largest assisted living community, 122 bed assisted living community. And at that time, she was making $120,000 a year. Plus, she had 30 days off. She had health benefits. And, we also worked really hard, because this is a hard job. Being a caregiver is a very difficult job. And for those people out there that are trying to care for their loved one at home, they understand this most. I always tell people we have 3 shifts of workers, because it is so difficult, and it is stressful, and it is draining. And we have to really have a greater respect. And I think that's one of the things we did in our business, was really respect our staff, because without them, you don't have a business. You don't have good quality care and love and compassion for your seniors. And when you don't have that, your business fails. So really investing in the people that are doing the work is really the best way. And I think most successful businesses have that niche. They understand that investing in your employees is the way to promote and have a successful business.
Yeah, I know that industry certainly has a lot of turnover, and getting people in there, having them get paid, paid well, and get them coming back and growing through the ranks. That's really huge. And I'm so cool. It's so cool to learn that side of your business life. So. Talk a little bit about, you were Calumet County Republican Party chair. You won County of the Year. How has that role prepared you for campaigning for the state Senate? And what have you learned about connecting with voters at the grassroots level via the county party?
Sure. Well, it's always interesting. It's a volunteer role, so it's not a paid position, and you're working with a group of volunteers to accomplish a goal. So it's a little bit different than an employment situation. And it's really, depending on people, the goodness of their heart. And again, treating people well. We want to have a big tent out there. We don't want to have people feel disenfranchised, that their voice isn't heard. So I think ensuring that everybody has a voice at the table and participates to the best. We have such great people in Calumet County and across the different Republican Party organizations that really dedicate themselves to making sure that the voice of these candidates and giving them opportunities to speak directly to voters, helping them get information out about the candidates, learning about the different legislative actions that are going on and how that can impact their life. I just felt like it's a privilege to serve in that role, and to lead such a wonderful team of great people that really believe in the cause of conservative values and want to fight for Wisconsin and want to fight for our county. And again, I say this to all the Republican parties across the state of Wisconsin. There's not, these are all volunteers, and they work very, very hard with little resource and with sometimes a very minimal amount of volunteers, but they're out there getting the job done and making sure that voters have a choice and that voters are well informed. And they have access to the candidates. And I think that's a huge role. And it sets us up for success. So I it's been one of the greatest pleasures of my life participating in this.
Yeah, in my prior life, I worked several campaigns across the state for state senate or state assembly, and I've worked with great county parties that are at their peak. I've worked with county parties that were bottoming out and coming back. So you taking on that role is really special, and having that leadership is so important, and getting those volunteers and doing the blocking and tackling to help get Republicans elected is really, really important. And thank you for doing that.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate really quickly that we need a big tent. We need a big tent.
Yes.
We may not agree on everything. We may have disagreements in private, but we have to be united. And we have to move forward together. And we have to fight for Wisconsin, because right now, if we don't get Tom Tiffany in as governor, and I'm going to put a plug in for him, Eric Toney, there's some other primary candidates out there, John Lieber for our state treasurer, who doesn't have a primary. But if we don't get good people in office that truly care and understand Wisconsin families, what we're going through, it's going to be hard. I know there's business people out there right now that are wanting to take their businesses and move them out of state. I know people that want to leave Wisconsin if things don't change. And so in order to keep our state great and to really ensure that we have a strong future, we need to get these conservatives elected to office. So please join me in voting for Tom Tiffany, Eric Toney, and so many other wonderful candidates that are going to be on our ballot on August 11th and then again on November 3rd.
No, that's absolutely true. I think Tom Tiffany the other day says that Wisconsin's going to be the firewall against socialism, and we've covered a lot of don't Minnesota our Wisconsin, don't Illinois our Wisconsin. We need to always stay at a better regulatory, better tax environment than those states, so people are coming in from them and not moving out. Totally agree with you. So what inspired you to jump in to the race for the first Senate district? Was there a particular moment or an issue that really indicated that it was your time to run?
We closed our business on December 31st of 2025 because my business partner was having some health problems, and honestly, we didn't know if she was going to live or not. And she wanted to make sure that she had things in order for her children and her grandchildren. And that was hard for me because I'm 10 years younger than her. And I do best and I feel the best in life when I'm helping other people. So it was kind of a struggle to figure out, okay, now what am I going to do? How can I continue my passion of helping other people? And so I was looking for different ways to do that. And, Andre Jacques has done a great service for the state of Wisconsin. I feel like he's one of the most honest, reliably conservative elected officials that we've had. I have great trust in him. But when he said that he was not going to run for this election, I had to stop and really think, and I prayed on this, and I talked to my family, and I talked to my executive committee at the Republican Party of Wisconsin, and I just felt like with my background, what I know from a variety of different experiences, it's not just my farming background, it's not just my business experience, it's a life well lived. I'm 52 years old, so I have a lot of wisdom that I've gathered over the years, and I just felt like we had to have someone to go down and be a strong fighter for us that wasn't looking at advancing themselves in a political career path, wasn't going in to do this for any sort of personal benefit, but really wanted to do something to help other people in the state of Wisconsin. And I feel like my skill sets, my values, my ability to communicate with people and listen. A lot of what we do is listening. In business, you need to listen to your team to see what their needs are, how we can benefit things. You need to listen to your customers. And I just made the decision that I felt like I could be the person to do that for Northeastern Wisconsin, and that I would go down and fight for what's right, and stand strong for the people of our communities.
That's great. No, I know you've been working really hard. I think you tag the new fashion conservatives when you're out knocking doors and putting up yard signs. So what's it like been on the campaign trail? What's the most encouraging part for you right now?
Again, just the voter contact, hearing from people about their individual concerns, finding that we have commonalities, I think one of the things that strikes me most is that people are really sick and tired of the negativity in politics, the inability to sit down and have a civil conversation with one another, even when we disagree, and to really come up with solutions that benefit everyone. And so that, to me, it's so important. I've always believed in having civil, professional conversations. We might not agree on everything, but the fact is we should be able to sit down, listen to one another, understand where the other person is coming from, and learn something from them in a lot of cases that we may not have known before, and then go back to the table and make good decisions and come up with solutions that really, like I said, benefit the communities as a whole. One experience I've had is that I met a woman at the Outagamie County fair, and we struck up a conversation, and we talked for a little while, and I had this immediate connection to her. I didn't understand really where it was. I felt like I knew her. I wasn't really sure. But before we parted ways, we prayed together, and she shared with me that she was battling cancer. She also asked me if she could put up one of my large campaign signs in her yard because she wanted to help me. So the next day, I stopped by her house to install the sign. And as we talked, we discovered that actually we did know each other. She had worked for me at one of our very first assisted living facilities. And she told me that she always appreciated how I cared about my employees. Yeah, I know. And how I cared about the residents that we served. And I think hearing that meant more to me than I can express, because caring for people, again, has always been at its passion for me. And so after we finished putting up the sign, I noticed her legs had started shaking. So I helped walk her back to the house. So I made sure she got back into the house safely. Before I left, she turned to me and she said, "Barb, I know you're going to win this election. I'm going to pray with you. If I'm alive on August 11th, I want to celebrate with you."
Oh gosh. Wow.
And those words stopped me in my tracks. Here was just facing the greatest challenge of her life. And yet she wasn't focused on herself. She was focused on encouraging someone else and giving me hope. And it just reminded me that this is what public service is about. It's not about titles. It's not about politics. It's about people. So that experience is something I think about each and every day. And I would just ask people, if they had it in their heart, to offer some prayers. Her name is Helen. During this difficult time, that God provides her comfort, and that she gets through this situation with dignity and peace.
Wow, that's really special, and that's got to be motivating in so many ways, that you're going knocking doors for people like Helen, and in that, taking care of them, and so that's got to be motivating on so many levels. Whether it's if she can handle that and do that for you, you can knock a door of a liberal that is going to yell at you for a minute or two.
And I want to make a comment or two, Justin. I have knocked doors of Democrats, and I will say that despite what people will think, the majority of Democrats, even though we don't agree on all issues, are polite. They are interested in talking about things, and we can agree on a lot more things than a lot of people. There's some things that we're never going to agree on, right? We know that. Sure. There's some policies, and a lot of it has to do with how we resolve issues and how we come up with solutions. But I think we do need to recognize that we have, there are some people that are fringe, that are a little bit wild, and it seems like they're louder. They have a louder voice than other people. But the majority of people in our communities are good people and want what's best for their community. Yeah,
and I think you have to log off sometimes, social media and the like, and you go to Quick Trip or something like that, you'll be, people are nice to each other, and you don't know what their politics are or anything about them, but you hold the door for each other and whatnot, and those moments are a good reminder.
Yes.
So, all right. So looking ahead, what's one big idea? What's one bill that you want to be a part of or author the day you are sworn in?
Okay, so, well, I wouldn't say author it. Well, make some changes, I think. But the bipartisan tax relief bill that failed recently, I think, is one that that should be brought up again, primarily because, it really was bipartisan. It offered permanent property tax relief for the people. I don't know about you, Justin, but this year my property taxes went up $700. So that was quite a shocking number for me. In addition to that, we had a permanent ban on tax on tips and overtime. And again, coming from a service industry where my staff often would give up time with their families and stay additionally. If someone didn't show up, they would maybe stay over a couple of hours. But that's time away from their family, time away from their children, time away from them being able to rest. And the idea that we can give them, overtime where they're really helping out small businesses without taxing them on that overtime, I think is really crucially important to the success and honestly to the success of businesses. Because it's not easy to say, yeah, I'll stay over because somebody didn't show up when you have other obligations outside. But people do, and I think we can show our gratitude for that. Tax on tips. Again, these are hardworking people, don't make a lot of money. I think we can give them a break so that they have an opportunity to, sustain their household and to thrive in the world in general. And then, of course, I think the other issue within that bill was the $350 million for special education. And I know that this is frustrating for me as well. It seems like we keep throwing money at the schools. My issue with that is that we're not really, when we give money to schools, it's not necessarily going to the right place. And this is something that I experienced in business. And we talked about this earlier. We would go into a facility and they'd have administrative bloat, multiple administrative positions that were duplicative. And these people were making high salaries, but the caregivers that were doing the work did not make enough wages to have a good quality of life. So I think we need to look at our school systems as a business, right? Particularly our public schools, your charter schools, your other things. Those are competitive markets. Those people are competing for students. But the public schools really don't have that aspect of competition right now. And what we need to be doing is we need to be investing those monies instead of administrative bloat and administrative salaries. That needs to go back to our teachers. Because right now we have people that are fleeing. We have teachers fleeing schools because they don't have a wage that reimburses them for what they're going through. And God bless our teachers because it's something I could never do. I give them credit, particularly our special education teachers right now that are in some cases dealing with, they don't have paraprofessionals assisting them because there's no funding or the paraprofessionals are so underpaid that people don't want to take those jobs. But we have to look at how we allocate our funds in our public schools. When you pay people, like I said, you're going to get a quality teacher that's going to invest everything they have. And we have a lot of those right now. But what we're seeing is that the good people are leaving because it's overwhelming, it's too much. And we need to make sure that we put our money into those areas, get them the support they need, especially like the special education. We're dealing with things that we didn't have to deal with when I don't know how old you are, Justin, but when I was in school, we have a higher population of individuals on the autism spectrum, more issues with regard to mental health and things like that's going on. It was unfortunate that the Teachers' Bill of Rights bill didn't pass as well, because that would have given them a little bit more control. But I think this bill really can do some good. I would like to see the rebate amount that would be going back increase because I think we can do better with that. But that would be my day one priority. And if I can say day two, the Knowles-Nelson Act. This is a public-private stewardship that works to maintain our outdoor environmental areas for fishing, hunting, our parks, our trail systems, etc. And particularly up in most of northeastern Wisconsin sees a lot of what we call environmental tourism, where people are coming out to hunt, fish, kayak, enjoy our outdoors. And that act not being funded again is a huge detriment, and it may cause a huge economic, and I think it will if we don't get that handled, impact to our counties like Door County, Kewaunee County, sure. And even my county, where we do a lot of fishing tournaments and things like that. So those would be two of my top priorities. And I'm sorry, I'm going on a little too long.
No, please. That's why we're giving you that forum for it. So we love it. Appreciate that. So we do have three big questions that we ask all the candidates that come on the show. And First one is, if you could pick a Wisconsin spot, whether it's a supper club, brewery, Packers game, to hold a voter rally, where would it be, and what would it look like, and what do you want to talk to voters about?
Hands down, it would be Lambeau Field, because in business, when we had people that came from out of state, the one play we always took them to Lambeau Field. Lambeau is more than just a stadium. It's really a symbol of Wisconsin. People come from all over the world to visit Lambeau Field because it represents our traditions, our values, our communities, and the pride we have in our state. It would be a big tailgating rally. We'd have brats that are simmered in beer with onions, because that's the right way to do it. And then, of course, grilled. We'd have some sauerkraut for the people like sauerkraut, different types of mustard available, steak sandwiches, cheese curds, beer cheese dip with pretzels would definitely be there. And I would throw in for those who like sweets, I'm not a sweet eater, even though it doesn't always appear that it looks like I probably really enjoy a lot of sweets, but I don't. A Door County cherry Kringle, I think would be the way to finish it up. So, yeah. And things we would talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Finish, please.
Well, the things that I would want to talk about are affordability and why Wisconsin needs leaders that understand business. Strengthening education by getting schools back to our core mission, which is helping every child to learn to read, write, think critically, and develop skill sets that can set them up to be a part of our workforce and succeed in life. Obviously, election integrity and the importance of maintaining public confidence in our elections. There's a lot of things we can do. Supporting our workforce, encouraging the construction of workforce housing, starter homes, so that people can, stop putting money into rentals. They can start having an asset and building equity in that asset. It'll help protect our families, our small businesses, if we have these workforce housing projects that we can get people. Because right now the workforce shortage is hard, but it's hard also to find a place to live, even if you want to move for a job. So, and then finally, I think, not finally, but we would talk about protecting our constitutional rights, whether that's freedom of speech, freedom of, private property rights, and of course the Second Amendment, which I'm a very strong supporter of. And then I think the last conversation we would probably have is about the Packers bringing home another Super Bowl win, bringing home that Vince Lombardi trophy to Lambeau Field again.
I love it. So I was going to ask, when you mentioned Door County cherry Kringle, do you have a special place up there? Is it Uncle Mike's?
I love Uncle Mike's, yes. Sure. But I try not to plug a specific business, but yes, Uncle Mike's is wonderful. There are a lot of really great bakeries out there in different places. I think there's so many wonderful things up in Door County, from the wineries, the cherry orchards. If you have a chance, I was able to go on a ride one time in a carriage through the cherry orchards, and they explain the history of the cherry orchards all the way back to World War II and the different things that are going on. It's a beautiful place to visit. And like I said, it supports a lot of jobs and businesses up there. And that's where my concern about this Knowles-Elson Act comes from, not just for them, other areas in northeastern Wisconsin, but I think it's going to have the greatest impact on our Door County tourism.
Yeah, I like doing some fall golf up there at Peninsula or the orchards, as well as all the little hamlets of Door County with their restaurants. You're right; it is a wonderful place.
It is. Running up to Washington Islands, going on the White Sands.
Sure.
There's so many fun opportunities. The waterfalls. It really is a beautiful treasure that we have here in northeastern Wisconsin.
No, and I'm headed up in August for the Packers family night. I think we'll take the next day and go explore Door County.
Wonderful.
Growing up or serving in Wisconsin, what's one lesson you've taken away from the state's heartland, whether it's, being on your family farm or, a small town festival, something that shapes your conservative approach to leadership in life?
I think growing up on a family farm, understanding reverence for life, no matter what form that takes. You help calves be born. You have a responsibility to take care of animals, to make sure that they're well fed, that they're well taken care of. And then, something I haven't shared with really anybody at this point is when I was a young girl, my mom was a Eucharistic minister, and she would go around to the nursing homes and shut-ins who couldn't get out to church, and she would pray with them and offer them communion. You know, I'm a Catholic.
Sure.
And before I could go to school, I would go with her. She would tag me along with her. And again, I learned about service to others through her, but also the value of life at any stage. And I think that's what drew me into healthcare, particularly with senior care. You know, whether it's hunting, you know, when we take a life through hunting, I feel like we have a responsibility to show gratitude for that, to do it with respect, and to make sure that we use every bit of that animal that we can. When I look at life, the dignity of life from the point of conception to a natural death, whether you have a disability, a chronic illness, it doesn't matter. The reverence for life and the defense of life, we all have inherent value, and we all deserve protection. And so I will support the policies that protect the unborn, strengthen families. I want to expand adoption because I think that that's a great alternative to some of the other things that are out there that don't support life. I want to make sure that we're supporting mothers and families and really, you know, trying to help individuals that want to have kids. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that maybe have 1 or 2 kids and they're like, well, I can't afford to have more. But, you know, we need bigger families. It's hard when you come from a family of 9 to hear that someone had 1 child, because I just think, oh, you know, the friendships, both my parents are deceased now. So the friendships I have and the support from my siblings is such a great value and such a blessing to me. So I think just recognizing that every person, every life should be treated with dignity throughout every stage.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, you know, I'll say that my wife and I are on the opposite side. We were both only children, and now we have 3. So we're trying to increase those numbers and keep them up. So
keep going.
Yeah, you are 100% in agreement with you there. So last question we have is, you get to wave a magic wand and set a day 1 policy. And this is, you know, I know we talked a little bit about, you know, the tax credit and school funding bill, but this is something that, you know, you don't have to worry about getting votes or working it through committee. This is one you get to wave a magic wand and roll back or set a policy to improve the state, whether it's, you know, getting rid of the high taxes or the woke gender language and administrative rules. What would you, one thing you would do immediately with your magic wand?
So because we already talked about the tax relief, which included permanent property tax relief, I would want to roll back the gender confusion that is happening in schools right now. I would like to see, in fact, with the Supreme Court decision yesterday that allows states to ban boys and girls sports, I'd like to see that expanded. I would like to see Governor Evers take that up and ban that now. If he doesn't, again, when Tom Tiffany is in office, that will be handled with a conservative legislature. So again, please vote for us. But I think that, you know, we have to really look at what's going on in our schools. We can't have people in there grooming our children, confusing them about their biological identity, their gender identity. That is not what the purpose of the schools are. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. But in my mind, that's child abuse, to be quite honest. And I think it should be prosecutable. These kids are, you know, we're convincing them that there's something other than they are, or we're allowing them to live in this world that isn't logical. It's not factual. And as adults, we have a responsibility to, you know, not buy into the fantasies of children with regard to, you know, I remember I wanted to be a cowboy. Well, I wasn't going to be a cowboy because I liked horses so much. I wanted to be able to ride around and, you know, do lassoing, things like that. It wasn't feasible for me. Now, I can't say that I couldn't have been at some point in my life, but I think, you know, this goes beyond that. This is really confusing children to the point that they're making, and parents, unfortunately, and educators are confusing them enough to try and convince them to make decisions, and they shouldn't be making these decisions about hormone treatments that have irreversible harm, about mutilating their bodies with irreversible, you can't go back after these things, you know. And, you know, if adults want to make decisions like that, that's one thing, but our kids are precious to us. And we have to protect them at all costs. And the other thing that we had going on in our school systems, we had, it came out that we had 200 individuals, educators or participants in our school systems that were grooming or even had sexually assaulted our children, and that was handled inappropriately. Again, those types of situations, those affect these kids lifelong. That trauma carries with them, and it can really impact their outcomes and success in life. And I think as a community, as a people, we have to stand for our children. And we have to push back and fight back. We can't let this, and I'm just going to, this woke ideology take over, because it really is causing a great deal of harm, not only to our children, but to our families. And I would just say to parents that are struggling with this right now with your child, a lot of these issues, gender dysphoria, stem from potentially a childhood trauma, or individuals that have some neurological condition. And I think that what we need to focus on is really looking at the underlying cause of gender dysphoria and getting these kids the help they need to overcome whatever it is that they're going through. That's what a civil society does. That's what community does, and how we support our children. Convincing them that they're a little boy when they're a little girl, it doesn't make sense, and it's wrong.
Yep. Barbara, I couldn't agree more. Definitely, hopefully something that you can tackle day one and the legislature can take on with Tom Tiffany as governor. So we do have one last question for you, Barbara. Where can folks go to learn more about your campaign, follow you along and on your doors and signs? Tell us your social media, drop it all for us.
Sure. So you can visit my website. It's www.barbara.FORWI-Senate.com. So Barbara for WI Senate, Wisconsin Senate. On Facebook, it's Barb Bittner for State Senate. On X, it's Barb Bittner WI. And you can also check out information on Ballotpedia. You just go in and enter my name, and you'll get some information there as well.
Fantastic. Well, Barbara, we wish you the best luck on the campaign. Thanks for taking some time today. Hope you get to knock a lot more doors and put up some more yard signs and get to meet more people like Helen. So thank you for doing that. And, we look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin, for having me, and to your listeners for taking time to hear about my beliefs and my values and how I intend to be your voice down in Madison. If you'll just afford me and humble me with your vote on August 11th in the primary, I would appreciate it.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, thanks to everyone who's been tuning in and making this pod so successful. Hope you enjoyed the conversation I had with Barbara Bittner. I was really moved by some of her stories. And if you like what you hear, make sure to leave us that 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. And if you write a review, we will read it on air. If you want more content, check out what we're writing at the Heartland Post. Of course, if you want to learn more about us or have any questions, hit us up at email at newfashionpod@gmail.com. Find us on Rumble, YouTube, Substack at New Fashion Conservatives, on X at New Fashion Pod. Hope you had a great Independence Day weekend.